Good morning, lovely people. How are you all doing today? I hope you're well. I'm hunkered down in home, at home, indoors because the weather. It's grotty. It's warmed up a little bit. Yay! I think we're sort of around 11, 12 degrees, but it's just raining all the time. Rain, rain. Go away. Come again a different day. It looks like for the next 2 weeks it's going to continue raining, and it's driving me a little bit mad because I want to get outside, as into the garden. I get outside every day, but I mean in terms of the garden. So that's what we're going to talk a little bit about today, because my mind is turning. It's time to start thinking about seeds and getting organised. So that's the nature of today's video. How to get yourself organised for a whole new growing year. Yay! And the reason I was particularly thinking about it was because I've got here some sweet peas. These were saved in 2021, so these will be my allotment sweet peas. It's probably a right old mix in here, but it will include some that my sister had given me. It was always a bit of a joke, for those of you who've not known my channel back from when I had the allotment, that I struggled with sweet peas for years, excuse me, and my sister always had beautiful sweet peas. So yeah, she gave me some seeds and I finally managed to grow sweet peas. Excuse me, I've got a tickle. So I've got those, and then I've been given all sorts of, this is going to be a seed sorting day. I've been given some, I can't remember who these, I've had so many different bits and bobs of folks sending me there. They have a seed sort out and go, I can't bear to throw the seeds away, I'll give them to Vivi. So we'll come to that in a second. Anyway, so I've got 2 lots of sweet peas. Now, if I was in London still, I'd be starting them right now. And I was about to. So for example, this hangs on the back of the bathroom door normally, the loo door. You see, collecting my loo rolls. I'm also going to talk about pots in a bit as well. So I just went into autopilot in December and started saving my loo rolls, end of November, to start my sweet peas now. But of course in London I was starting them in the cold frame. Now, it wasn't a heated cold frame, so this notice for those of you who have either a cold frame or a greenhouse unheated, you can start your sweet peas now, and that's what I always did. Using your loo rolls. The reason I like to use loo rolls for sweet peas and garden peas is ideally, you want to sow them in situ where they're going to grow. However, you may be starting them at a time, like now, where the bed you want to have them in is frozen, or it's got the winter crops in still. In other words, that bed isn't ready. So you want to start them in a pot rather than in the ground where they're going to grow. So if you do, start them in a loo roll innard or a long pot, because they really don't like their roots to be disturbed, and we want to sort of encourage these long roots in here. So yeah, peas and sweet peas, they're not that keen on being transplanted. So in a paper pot like this, we can take it and just put the whole pot into the ground, or a container. It's probably going to be a container for me. You can put the whole thing in and the roots won't be disturbed. They won't know any difference. Just a word of advice though, if you are using cardboard tubes, loo roll innards, or half a kitchen roll if you still use paper kitchen towel, when you plant it, make sure get it right into the ground, but make sure the top rim of the cardboard is under the level of the soil as well, because if it's sticking up, so our soil level is here, if it's sticking up, what it will do is it will wick moisture up, and then around that rim that's poking up, it will evaporate the water out, so you'll end up with dry roots. So just make sure you get that cardboard just under the soil so it's not going to evaporate. Anyway, so that's all very well if you've got a cold frame or a greenhouse unheated at this time of year. because I haven't, I suddenly thought, oh no, hold. So I'm going to wait until March to do my sweet peas. When I come to do it, of course, I'll share that with you, because probably at the same time, I wasn't going to grow any this year, but I'll be doing peas, because I have these beautiful, and I showed these packets in closer detail on my Facebook and Insta recently, but I'm going to be doing peas. Just a handful in here. How many, sorry, hang on a tick. How many seeds does it say? 9 seeds, so 9 little pea plants. I could fit 9 pea plants in one of my black grow bags, the felt fabric type grow bags that Bernadette sent. Oh yes, it says here, sow outside between March and June. So I'll get them all going about March time, but I love how cheerful these packets are. So that's the peas, and that's the beetroot packet, and it's from an organisation called, you can see right at the top there, Art Unlimited. Go online and have a look. It's really beautiful stuff. They support adult artists who have neuro and physical complex needs. So there are seed packets, there are chocolate bars. The chocolate bar is gorgeous. They do tea towels, they do some of the prints framed, and they're all just so wonderfully vibrant and full of life and dynamism. I love them. Anyway, I'm digressing. So yeah, the sweet peas were on hold, the peas were on hold, but it triggered that gardener in me that is sort of like, it's funny, isn't it? I suppose, I'm sure the vast majority of you get it too, that when you've been gardening, I'm talking about veg growing now, for so many years, it's like we have an internal clock that is so connected with the season, with the light, with the heat, all those things. It's like our body tells us it's time to do X, Y, and Z. But you might not have gardened for very long, that clock might not have developed in you, so you might need some reminders and some prompts, so that's what today is about. Now what I do need to do is get out my seed collection. 1, 2, 3, 4 tins, and I think, oh yeah, hold on, a couple of little jam jars, because these were in the freezer and they came out. So that's some coco de pampol, and that is my gigantis seed collection. When I left London, I think because I knew I was closing the allotment down, I don't know, I think my brain went on the fritz a bit, and I only saved 4, that's 3 Vivi, 4 gigantes seeds. So I planted all 4, and I think, did I end up with 2 plants? I've now got 4, 8, I've now got 12 seeds. So those gigantes I grew here last summer, I had 2 portions that I used in a fasolada, Greek bean stew, but I earmarked, that must have come from about 3 or 4 pods. I earmarked my seed saving pods. So, yeah, it's this time of year to start getting organised with the seeds. You know, apart from anything else, while the weather is so grotty and we can't get out into our gardens, at least we can kind of fantasy garden with our seeds, can't we? Because the other thing for me is, with my seed tins, when I shut the allotment down, excuse me, I shut the allotment down in 2023, and so it was a case of just, you know, grab, stuff in boxes, stuff in tins, pack up the shed in March 2024. I finished, cleared the shed out, that was done, and things went into storage. So they didn't get a proper kind of session of care and organisation as I normally would. They just got packed, stored. I arrived here a year and a bit later on the spur of the moment thought, let's do some tomato seeds, put some tomato seeds in. So my boxes still haven't been properly cared for. So let's do a bit of that now. So this big one it's beans, because their packets are massive, or not necessarily packets as in from the shops, but envelopes of seeds. That's some coco de pampol, for example. So that's beans. I'm going to run out of space. This is all my other general veggies, and what I used to do for the allotment, and this might be something that's helpful for you. They're within the tin. There are large white envelopes, which are really tatty. It's mud, London mud. They're really tatty. This is why I need a good reorganisation, because these tins have been organised like this since about 2012 or 13. So within each packet, then there are all the different seed packets within them. And I used to organise them, as you can see on the front of this one. It simply says, can you see that? Salads. So I've got one that says salads, one that's squash and courgettes, one that's tomatoes, cucumbers and peppers. I group them together because they tend to get sown at a similar time, peppers a bit earlier. That whole tin is beans. What else have we got here? Brassicas. So they're just grouped. And look, this isn't a fancy pants. You can get some really fancy seed tins with divider cards, what have you. I know people use photo albums. You know the kind of photo albums where you get a clear pocket to put the photo in. People use those. I don't think that would work for me with a lot of my seeds are quite bulky, but whatever system you find that works for you, go for it. This one is all flowers and herbs. Oh, including, that was my card. This was from Tracy, wasn't it? Yeah. When she sent the lovely crochet blanket, and I kept it, apart from the fact that it's a lovely card. The card is impregnated with wildflower seeds. So I've got flowers and herbs, and you can see there's masses. Now look, one thing in life I can't bear in any aspect of life is hoarding. I can't bear the idea of a person having way more than they can ever use or need, and someone else having nothing. It just doesn't seem right to me. So yeah, seed hoarding is one of those things that it gives me the ick. So and then this arrived as well. I've still got the card in there. So there's a whole lot in here. There are so many gardening magazines on the market on there, and they're pretty much all giving away free seeds every month. And they tend to be seeds that a lot of people just don't want to grow or don't get around to growing. Let me see if I can find an example. There'll be an example in here. You see, look, it comes with the magazine Amateur Gardening. And over the years, and thank you, folk have sent those on to me because they just don't know what to do with them. Can then I send them on to a community garden centre, that sort of thing. And when I was in London, I did that a couple of times. We had a community garden that was not run by the NHS, but was kind of set up. It kind of works in conjunction, so that people with mental health issues can be prescribed, I mean it's just great, isn't it, prescribed some gardening time. So they had a load of seeds from me, but I've got an accumulation again. So the first thing to do at this time of year, if you're like me, is give yourself a session with your seeds. So the first thing I'm going to do is go through them and decide to think, well, I know I'm definitely not going to grow that. So I'll see if I can find some examples. Chives, I might do in the front. A collection for hanging baskets. Well, I'm not going to have any hanging baskets. However, there are some nasturtiums in there. So I think, maybe, and if they're in individual packets, maybe I could take that out. But the other thing I'm going to be looking at is use by dates. Now, the thing about use by dates or sow by dates, quite often, okay, there's one exception, parsnips, I would say you need fresh seed every year. They really, really don't keep well at all. So get your fresh parsnip seeds. But a lot of other seeds, some of them within a packet will stay viable for quite a few years. In fact, my lovely friend Gary in London, he had one year when he got a bed that was about, it was one of the smaller ones, so maybe 1.5 meters wide, and he got about a 3 metre run at the end of it. So the whole bed itself was probably about 6 or 7 metres. About 3 metre run at the end, it was clear, and he's sort of scratching his head, what shall I put in here? And he decided to sow all of his old seed of brassicas, so cabbage, kale, broccoli, that whole family. He thought, you know what, they're not going to come up hardly any. I mean, some of the seeds were sort of 15 years old, so he sowed this whole bed. Anyway, needless to say, I think by the end of May, he was begging people to take some of these brassica seedlings because so many of them came up. So if you've got out of date seeds, don't necessarily give up or just chuck them out willy-nilly. It might be worth testing a few on if you've got a napkin, my napkins are tucked away, or a tea towel. On a damp tea towel, put some seeds on there. I know some people will then put it inside a poly bag. If you've got like the Ziploc freezer bags, pop it inside there and just see if any of those seeds will sprout on that moist tea towel. So you go, oh, and you think, okay, these seeds are viable. I don't need to chuck them out. And also, by doing it on the tea towel, you save yourself the heartbreak of sowing an entire, say, seed tray or an entire bed and nothing comes up. Give it a little test at home first. And if nothing comes up, then think, right, okay, those seeds have had it. So, first things first, go through them all. Is it something, especially the flower box? I adore flowers, of course I do. I just don't really have the space to do much by way of flowers, apart from out the front. But even that, I mean, it's the tiniest strip of soil to work with. So I'm going to go through, firstly, set aside any of those I know I don't want. Secondly, I'm going to look through and just check the dates and think, because if I don't want them, do I want to hand over to a community garden centre a load of seeds and say, look at this lovely gift from me, but they're all 10 years out of date? That's not a nice gift, is it really? I'll ask them and I'll explain, look, these are all out of date, however, they might still be viable, some of them. Would you like them? I think that's the better approach. So, once I've gone through everything and thought, oh, I'd like to sow that, I don't want to sow that, that makes life a bit easier, push that whole pile aside. Going through the ones that I do want to grow, and I already got a little bit ahead of this at the end of last season, in sort of September or so, having had my first summer here, you know, seeing how the sun works, moving around the garden, really got to grips with how much space, as in, you know, square meterage I've got here. By September, October, actually by the summer, I was already thinking ahead to next year, as in now this year. So I have actually bought a few seeds already. I've got my Cavallo Nero. I bought some Uchikikuri because it grew beautifully and it tasted gorgeous. I also saved a couple. Now, I am going to try them. Sorry, it's my own seed packet. I popped them in the seed packet and it says, seed type Uchikikuri, variety from Paul's seedling, date collected October 2025, growing notes, talk to it, stroke it, love it. Normally one wouldn't want to save one's own squash seeds because they cross-pollinate like mad. And of course I had butternuts. But I thought I'd never saved my own squash seeds for that very reason, because in the allotment I used to grow so many different varieties. But I thought, oh, I can't resist. So I saved a few. I'm going to do one, maybe. Anyway, so yeah, I've got ahead of the game a little bit. Cavallo Nero, Ichiki Curry. I've got some Black Beauty Courgette. And this is why I'm about all the rain. Some celery. This is a green Utah. I've also got my own celery seed in here somewhere. My thinking is buy the compost bin. Celery doesn't mind a bit of shade. In fact, actually, it can do with dappled light because it's a bog plant, it wants to stay moist, etc., etc. And I was thinking, or I could use it throughout the shade garden because it's such beautiful foliage. It's a lovely garden plant. If you had a flower border, to have the green Utah mixed amongst them, it's this lovely foliage, beautiful, lovely, limey acid green, a really vibrant green. And then when you need a bit of celery, go to the flower border, pull a few stalks. But of course I haven't cleared the shade garden. That was supposed to be happening in October. But literally September, October, November, December, it's just rain, 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 rain. I'm digressing. That's because I'm just keeping an eye on the time, I'm getting excited about seed sowing. Let's come back to the point. Let's make the point. The first thing is go through your tins, discard things you know that you're not going to grow. Stop hanging on to seeds that you know you are not going to grow. Discard out of date ones if you're a bit about them. If you're not bothered, then get rid. It's not worth it. Once you've got your discards, look up somewhere in your locality. Is there a community garden? Is there an allotment society? Is there someone who might like your cast-offs? Ask them first. Don't just dump them to make the problem someone else's. Say to them, look, if they're all in date, just say, look, I've got some spare seeds, would you like them? If some of them are out of date, I've got some spare seeds, there's a few which are out of date, would you still like them to have a go with them? That's done. Then you're left with the seeds you know you're definitely going to grow. Once you've gone through them and you can start planning, what do I want to grow this year? Then you can see your gaps and now get on with the job of ordering your seeds, because spring will be here in no time. I'm just trying to remember who I got these from, because I had to find, the seed co-op went out of business, so I had to find, they don't have their name on it anyway, I had to find a new company. They're all organic. I can't remember what it was called, Organic Seeds or something online. Dead catchy. So you can get your order sorted now in plenty of time. Also, right, I'm going to look at my little checklist to make sure I haven't forgotten anything. I've sorted all my stock. Also at this stage, what I'm going to do is, I need to get real, I've got some new envelopes I can use because some of them are torn to shreds. So get my seed tins reorganised and repacketed, etc., etc., so that everything is neat, tidy, organised, so that if I've only got 1 hour spare one day in order to do some seed sowing, boom, 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 I'm on it. I don't want to waste time looking for stuff when the time comes. Then I've decided what's missing from my collection so I can make my seed order or speak to friends. If you've got gardening buddies, let them know, I'm getting rid of such and such seeds, do you want them? They might say, oh yeah, brilliant, because I was going to order some. And then you can say to them, I'm about to order some Uchiki Curry. Do you have any spare? Do some swapsies. Yay! You might belong to an allotment or gardening society that have a seed swap at this time of year. Brilliant. Then I'll also be thinking about, and I'm quite good on this one in terms of at the end of the previous season, but it's something you may want to make a note for yourself. I'm going to start thinking about all my kit. So my seed sowing trays, my small pots, things like loo rolls. Have you got all that stuff? Are you ready with it? So if you're a bit naughty, probably the majority of people, this is where I'm a bit of a goody two shoes on this one. But if you're a little bit naughty and at the end of the season you tend to sling your pots into the shed, or you might even have a crate or a box in the shed, and as you've tipped a plant out of its pot and actually planted it in the allotment, that pot gets flung in the box. Go and get your kit sorted out now. Because, and we all know, anyone who's gardened for years knows what it's like. Once March hits, March, April time, suddenly it seems like every hour of the day is taken up with getting the vegetable garden sorted, because you'll be sowing seeds, you'll be thinning, you'll be pricking, you'll be potting on, but at the same time you're prepping the land, so you might be weeding like mad. You know what it's like. It's that time, March, April, bam, actually May as well. It's so crazy busy. So while we've got a little bit of downtime now, if your garden is immaculate and does it well, weeding, get into your shed, make sure you've got all your pots. You might not necessarily want to scrub them, wash them, scrub them, what have you. I do have a habit of washing them all out. I just think I'd rather start with clean things next year, disease or whatever, but at least knock off any excess mud. Maybe get your pots stacked up in sizes, so these are all your 4cm pots, these are your 8cm pots, these are your 10cm pots, whatever it is, again, so that if you've only got really minimal time, you've got 1 hour and you need to go and do some potting on, you're not scrabbling around in the shed for an hour looking for pots and oh, my hour's up. Get it sorted now. Pots in size order. Do you have enough trays? Are they clean? Are they stacked and ready to go? Do you have enough gravel trays as well as seed trays? Because you might want your gravel trays for putting the pots in. Do you use propagator lids? I do from some of my indoor starts. Are the propagator lids clean? You want the light to get through those propagator lids. Are they looking really grubby? If you're on an allotment, you might decide, actually I need to bring those home to scrub. I want hot soapy water to scrub them rather than just running them under the cold tap at the allotment if you've got running water. It might be that you've got stuff at the allotment and you think, I need to bring that home for my indoor sowings. So yeah, think about not just the seeds and your ordering, but think about the kit you're going to use, pots, trays, everything. If it's at the allotment, does it need to be at home? If it's at home, does it need to be at the allotment? Is everything to hand and ready to go? Yeah, I can't wait. Right, what else? Think about things like your compost supply. Excuse me. How much compost are you going to need? Again, if you've gardened for years, you'll have a good idea. It might be worth looking now to see if offers are starting to come online, or in shops or whatever. It might be like 3 for 2, that sort of thing. I dragged home small bags, were they 10 litres at a time? That's all I could fit in my granny trolley. I was lugging 10-litre bags backwards and forwards, and then subsequently found out that Nixon's do a delivery and they charge, I think it's £3 because I'm so local. Great. So I'm going to think to myself, instead of all these little 10-litre bags, I might have a little think on this, but I might get 3 50-litre bags. That should do me. So the bigger the bag, the more economical. You know how it goes. A 10-litre bag costs £5. A 50-litre bag isn't 5 times a £5, 25 quid. It's 12 quid. It's much more economical to buy the big ones. So have a think as well about just planning ahead, the compost supply, not for the beds necessarily, but for your pots and trays, for your starting. This is all about the seed starting. But also if you're a container gardener, I'm partly a container gardener now, all of that compost, all of those bags, they will need a refresh. In fact, I think with containers, you're better starting with new compost each season, because that compost will have been, all the goodness will have been taken out of it. So they're probably going to go onto the beds to add the organic matter, as in the fibrous matter, to help with moisture retention, because my soil is so quick draining. So I'm going to have a look at all my containers and think, right, how many litres does each pot take? How many? You get the gist. So another thing you can think about right now, and it's exactly what I would have been doing when I had the allotment, is not just the loo roll pots, but think about making your own paper pots. I was going to show the paper potter to you. You know what a paper potter looks like, but it's in the shed and it's chucking down and I don't want to go outside. If you have, so over the years, I amassed more and more and more plastic pots. People chuck them out. Anyway, so over the years I've needed to make less and less paper pots, but you know, going back 10 years, I used to make a lot of paper pots because they were basically free to make. Get the free newspaper, the free local newspaper, and actually I did a video ages and like years and years ago. I'll put it onto the end of here because there's 3 different paper pots. I think one of them is the loo roll, but there's 3 different paper pots to make. One where you need that paper potting thing, you know, the action. You wind the paper around the wooden block and then you squish it into the bottom and it folds, tucks the bottom in for you. But also, if you don't have a paper potter, on that video I share with you an origami paper pot, which is a bit bigger, a square one, so it's about that sort of size. Hello. Which is useful for squash, because squash is another plant that doesn't like its roots being disturbed. But yeah, think about when you're doing your kit check, you know who you are, you know you threw them to the back of the shed last September, October. If you feel like, oh, every year I don't have enough pots and oh, I don't really have the money to splash out in pots this year, start now with your loo roll collecting, your paper pot making, your origami. Do it for free. Brilliant. And then finally, finally, Esther, a really simple calendar, a sewing calendar, just literally a piece of paper and at a glance. So, I should have done an example. So what I do with my at a glance is one column for the months, the next column for the seed that needs sowing. I do apologise, excuse me. Sorry, I'm just trying, because I'd like to show you in my book, but my garden book is still packed. I keep very minimal notes. But yes, the months of the year, and then to be sown indoors, and a column, to be sown outdoors. That column doesn't really start to have much in it until about April. Spuds on St Patrick's Day. And then you might have one more column for notes. You might not know it yet, but things like, you know, expected date for pricking out or potting on. But mainly it's the reminder to sow, to get sowing. So for example, I might be thinking peppers in February, sweet peas in January, peppers in February, beginning of March, celery. That's an early starter under a propagator. By the end of March, I might start to think about tomatoes. April. So I've actually got a couple of notes on my calendar already, on my main kind of home calendar. Start of April, I've got on the calendar tomatoes, squash, and everything. Because I haven't quite decided everything I'm growing this year. But yeah, an at-a-glance calendar, put it somewhere obvious. You might want to do 2 copies, have one in the shed if you've got an allotment, and keep one at home, because if you're at home you can't see the one in the shed, and I don't know, you've got your Saturday suddenly becomes free. You were supposed to be doing something and your Saturday is now free. If you've got that little at a glance at home as well, you might think, oh, actually, yeah, I'll get down to the allotment and start the tomatoes today, for example. Anyway, I'm losing my voice. That's a lot of talking, a lot of info. I hope some of it's been useful. I think more than anything, just whatever seeds you've got, get looking at them now, have a sort out, get rid of what you're not going to sow and grow, see if there's any gaps, do you need to order anything. Make sure your kit is clean and tidy and ready for you, because it's going to get mad. Get your compost supply sorted. You might not order it quite yet. Get making paper pots if you don't have spare cash for buying pots and you're always a bit short. And make yourself that little at a glance calendar so you know your seed sowing times. And yeah, get saving the loo rolls. If like me you're going to be sowing in March, it's not too late. And if you're a big family, you've probably got one of these appearing every day. So yeah, get saving them. All right, lovelies. Oh, it's so exciting, isn't it? I love it, love it, love it. So now, once I've turned the camera off and you've all gone, I'm going to actually do my sort, and I can't wait. My dreams and ideas are always bigger than the garden I have. But I say, you know what, dream huge, dream really, really big, and then bring it down to a more realistic thing, and share your spares. Be ruthless, share your spares, give someone else the gift of the joy of growing. All right, lovelies, until next time, please look after yourselves and happy seed sorting and garden dreaming. Cheerio.